Welcome into another episode of the Four Dads podcast. We are a collection of dads from Northwood Hills Baptist Church in Northport, Alabama. We sit down, we talk about things that we go through as fathers, that we go through as believers, and it's usually going to be funny, it's going to be fun, and it's just something that we think anybody can relate to and have a good time with. So I'm CJ Watson.
Clayton Dodd.
I'm Josh Grammer.
We're excited to have y'all with us tonight. Clayton, what you got tonight?
So I've got a topic that is actually something that I've kind of went through here recently with a neighbor, and I was just curious what y'all's take is on it as far as at what point does trying to help a neighbor, and I'm talking about physically somebody that lives close to you, somebody who's not necessarily a friend or family, but just somebody who you see regularly, and where is that point of not getting taken advantage of? You know, like trying to be as courteous and helpful as possible, but yet not allowing them to take advantage of you. You know, like where does that stand?
Right.
So recently we had some bad weather and some things about cleanup came up, and I offered up my land as a way for them to get in to clean up theirs. Ultimately, that led to them, I don't want to say fully taking advantage, but definitely pushing the issue. And so I battled with, do you just kind of move on and let them do their thing and try to continue to be that neighbor and be that positive look on it, or do you say something, or what happens there?
So for the sake of clarity, what are they trying to get by on your land?
So the understanding that I had when I offered up them to actually use my land was because they didn't have really good access to theirs. So I said, let me help you by allowing you to get your crews that are going to do your cleanup crossing my land to get in there. And so I was fully on board with, as long as they don't, tear up my yard. Don't just get out there and do circles, things like that. Normal ruts, whatever, I'll fix it. Don't tear up field lines, things like that, and then just run off. General, hey, don't mess it up kind of thing. Do what you need to do within reason. And that led to their contractor, whoever's going to do the cleanup, trying to charge me a premium just to build the road. And so I just said, that's not right. And is there any way that we can work this out? And ultimately it was more or less put towards me of, no, you've got to pay for this. And so I tried, it's kind of wrapping up at the point, but tried to be the right attitude towards it. Mm-hmm. But where is that line? Where did they cross it?
I feel like there's a Christian answer, and then there's
right.
the American
exactly.
answer. That's where I struggle, because I've got a situation with property too where people will want to drive through, and I really wouldn't care except I have little kids.
Yeah.
And the guy on the other hill, he works for the police somehow. He's some kind of weapons trainer or something. He's always shooting, which I like because it keeps people away. True. And there was one time I had to get ugly with somebody and be like, if you go over that hill, you will probably get shot. Yeah. So it's not a good idea to trespass on people's land without asking them. And I feel awkward being rude to people, but I basically had to say, get off my property, or something could happen.
Right.
And then you've got the right-of-way thing. I planted pine trees that stopped roads from somebody getting through. So in just 3 or 4 years, you could stop them. Now.
Well, I have an offer.
Yeah. Just put the fence. No.
Yes.
Well, I guess the line is you offer the option to say you can use my land, but when the other guy wants to say pony up, when you have nothing that you're asking them to do. I mean, I guess you can say within reason there's conversation to be had, but I mean,
it's but I guess at what time does it, how far do you take it?
What
I
does
guess
the
what I'm
neighbor
trying to say.
say?
Well, the neighbor, to be frank, was absolutely aggravated that I wasn't just willing to write a check and just do it. And what I said was, I'm trying to be courteous. I'm trying to be a good neighbor. I don't have to. I'm not sitting there pushing for these trees to be cleaned up. You have to have them cleaned up to get in there. I honestly had thought in my head, hey, I will pay for fuel, a little bit of, I'll put up a little bit of money for it. But ultimately, the guy who was doing the work wanted to charge a premium for him building the road. And I didn't feel right about it. And then I had to question myself of, am I being a good neighbor by now? I have went back on what I said in a way. And then I thought to myself, no, I didn't go back on it. I offered it up. I tried to do the right thing and be helpful. They tried to take it too far. And so I'm just having to back out. I'm having to get out of the situation.
It makes me think of, and to make it Christian here, that this was the other side of it was, and I think it's still part of the Sermon on the Mount. It's in Matthew, where Jesus is talking about like settling things with someone before law gets involved. Basically, he's like, settle with your neighbor before you go to jail and can't pay the price, basically.
Right.
And that's not the same situation, but that's where my mind goes is, in what way, as a Christian, if I have a situation with somebody, how can I deal with it person to person before other things get involved? And then if that can't get settled, that's when other things get involved.
Sure.
But in this case, welcome to the legal podcast. No, it's like since it's your property and they're asking permission to go across and demanding you pay money, I feel like it's easy to just say, well, then no, you find a different way.
Sure.
And I've tried to do it the nice way and let you do it, but it's not on me to pay that.
And you offered that up, right?
Yeah, I completely.
So they
offered
didn't even
it
come
up.
to you about it.
No, they were in my yard one day talking with their contractor and trying to figure out. They're looking at it from my side, and they were running through different scenarios and things. And I walked. I mean, they're in my yard, so I walked up, politely said, "Hey guys, how you doing? Have you what are you thinking?" And it was said, well, we don't know how we're going to get in here. And I said, well, okay. And I looked at my neighbor and I said, well, I tell you what, I want you to get your area cleaned up. We're all in this together. I've got stuff down. You got stuff down. I'm going to be a good neighbor. Why don't, as long as you, stay off my field lines, don't tear up more than we need to, extra work. And if you do that, then you can use my yard and let's make this easy. And it was never brought up until really the day before they started work. Hey, you're going to come out of pocket for quite a bit. I mean, this was not something that was, hey, we need $100 to cover fuel. This was $4,000 for 2 trees. And that was a premium in a situation where I honestly didn't have to have it at that moment.
Those trees were still standing.
No, they're down.
Oh,
they're
down.
down.
Okay.
They're
So
down.
down on
They,
your
But you
property.
they're
didn't.
down on my
Yeah,
property.
Yeah. They're trying to get through.
They just need to get through there to get into that property. And
Now, if your tree fell across your property onto theirs, you are liable. That actually is. I've dealt with that with people. But
Yeah, but I guarantee you, he's going to call his churchmen to come cut some trees up.
exactly.
And I
Say
think
4,000.
the reality is,
we could do it for 2,000.
were they going to, hey, I got an $8,000 bill if I can pawn half of it on you?
And
It's hard to know that.
Yeah.
And so I was going to answer, but then I would rather hear y'all discuss it.
Sure.
Because I kept raising my hand trying to, I don't want to flip the camera the wrong times. Because that's the only drawback to not being on this side. And so a lot of what Josh said is between Christians also. How are you treating people of the faith?
Yeah.
And so, first you want to be a representative and ambassador for Christ, but if you're not talking to somebody that's equally where you are trying to honor
Right.
Christ and how they relate to each other, then you're liable to get screwed Christianly.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean to say that out loud.
No,
but,
that's the truth.
but you have to kind of guard against. It's that be wise
Yeah.
as serpents, but timid and
Exactly.
humble. And you've got to be willing to fight for yours because they'll take it from you.
Exactly.
And that's the world. I hate to say it. That's sin, and that's the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's ultimately, that's what I came to was there is a line. There is a point where you have to, for lack of a better term, just stand up and say, hey, you're not going to just walk all over me. And that's what I came across. And I hate that because I wanted so bad to help a neighbor in a time that we were all in the same situation. We were all trying to get our areas cleaned up, and thankfully nobody was hurt and all this good stuff. And it just turned bad for no reason, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And I felt like if I had went even further and even said, no, I'm just absolutely not going to do it, that it would have made the situation worse and possibly made, relationships down the road worse, where I just pretty quickly just said, hey, I think we're going to have to figure out a different way. Let's just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking back on it, there was definitely probably some things I could have done better, and definitely and things that I wish I had. I didn't say anything that I necessarily regret, but just the tone that I said it in was probably a little heated. But I am glad that I didn't, like I said, I didn't say anything that I just absolutely regret saying. I wish it would have been handled a little different.
Yeah.
It's easy to see tone getting a little out of what you would want it to be when you're being asked to pay $4,000 that you don't have to. Like, hey, I would like to offer. Well, you can help by paying me $4,000.
Yeah.
That's not what I had in mind.
That's not what we had
That
there.
was not the offer.
The crazy part to me, and I'm not a very good neighbor, because what it does is it makes you not want to offer in the future.
Right.
And I get to a point where I don't really have neighbors. I never did. Like where I grew up, my closest friend was like 5 miles away. And now the closest house to me was sold to some people who don't live here. They only come to visit their grandkids, so I've never seen them.
Yeah. I
see the people cut their grass, and they cut around my mailbox, and I hadn't stopped them yet. I probably should be like, hey, that's actually part of thank you. But
as long as they do a good job.
Yeah, my mailbox is there, and then I'm like 500 feet the other way in the woods.
Don't charge them $4,000 though.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, hey, guys, that's not theirs. But I don't really have neighbors. So as far as when I read the Bible, and it's like, when I read where it's talking about like being good to your neighbors and stuff, I don't really think of physical neighbors because I don't live in a neighborhood.
Right.
But when I have the people near me, I usually don't do a very good job of speaking to them or hanging out with them or checking on them and stuff. So I'm not a very good neighbor. And that's like when I hear people tell those kind of stories, I'm just like, man, like I don't know that I would have even offered, like, and I which I said that I have before. I offered to let a guy go through one time on something that's
after
through the woods from
or
me.
Before the first shotgun blast.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. Where did it come?
Go from him.
Yeah.
Get on here.
Get on. Get. Now I've yelled at a lot of neighbors' dogs.
Yeah.
They probably I'm notorious for not liking dogs, and one of my other closest neighbors, probably one of the few times I've ever talked to them, was yelling at them about their dog, and I'm not proud of that. But it was because I've got a dog too, which I don't even like my own dog. But it's just like, I don't like my own dog. I don't want another dog over here. And dogs don't care about property lines, so I try not to care. But when they tear your stuff up, you're like, hey, this is a problem. So I'm not a very good neighbor, which is crazy to think about when you read the Bible and it talks so much about being a good neighbor. And I'm like, ooh. I might need to work on that a little bit.
Well, I used to laugh at the phrase when people would say fences make good neighbors, because I grew up in the country too, where there was the fences were pasture fences.
Heidi-ho, neighbor.
Yeah. I never had that, and now I know that since we've lost all of our woods, that
you can see everybody.
There will be some
neighbors.
fences in the future. And yes, because now I've got a direct shot to two of them. Bathroom window. We're gonna have to have a fence up.
Are they gonna be 8 foot in privacy?
Oh,
8 foot in privacy fences?
I'm 6'3". They better be at least 8 foot tall, because I don't see it. So definitely, those good fences, they're going to come up. Good neighbors will be made.
That's what your 4,000's going to.
Some,
the tree.
that's it. Some 4x4s, 2x4s, and some pickets. That's where that's going to.
And that's
So,
what's crazy.
here's the thing. You can go back and say, you know what? I've rethought this. I will give you the $4,000 to clear this land if you will put me up a new fence.
Yes, that's right. I'll have rethought it as long as you'll take these post hole diggers and use them. and I don't have to. That's where that's going to come from. Absolutely.
That's not a bad resolution when you
Yes,
think about
sir.
it.
Especially in July.
Amen.
There's.
I have a tractor.
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna need it. Right now, it's looking like probably 3 or 4 panels, so not a lot, but maybe more in the future as we get more and more cleaned up. That we're going to have to put up fence because it's just we can see everything now. You know, like last year we had the where you can see the northern lights. Couldn't hardly see it from my house because we got trees everywhere. I mean, it was just covering it up. And then you had there for like 3 weeks, we had a comet that was going by, and I drove all over the place trying to find it. I can see them now. I can see them now. I got to.
So did the Northern Light thing? Did you believe that?
Last year when it came down?
Yeah, because when everybody kept telling me, I was like, "This is one of those things where they're lying."
I didn't think it was
And
going to
I
be
was
near
so
as good as it
skeptical,
was.
and I went outside and could see it and took
Yeah.
pictures. You could see
Did
it
you?
better
Oh,
in
yeah.
the camera. And
That's what I
like,
was about to say.
I was like, man, The Simpsons made fun of this years ago.
Yeah.
And
It's-
said, like, there's no way you could have it here.
Yeah.
I don't know where Springfield's supposed to be in there, but they had a joke in one episode about Aurora Borealis. And he's like,
Yeah.
at this time of year, in your kitchen, at this part of the country. And that's the first thing I thought of. I was like, The Simpsons lied. Like,
Oh.
it's right there.
It is, yes. And I was shocked how good we could see
Yeah.
it. And it's one of those
You
things.
missed it.
I missed it. I even
Oh,
went
man.
Sleep through
outside.
it?
Like,
Oh, man.
So I saw people posting about it, and I went, "Oh!" So I grabbed my phone. I go outside. Now, granted, my phone still has a button on it, so my phone's probably not the one to try
flip
to.
it
You
over.
got to flip it. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Pull the antenna out.
Welcome to
And,
cricket.
so I jump in the back of my truck to look up at the sky, and I go, "I don't see a thing."
Yeah.
I go, "Phone." I get it out, and I go, "I don't see a thing." I said, "This is a bunch of junk, man."
I hope he was just looking the wrong way. He was looking to the south.
It's like a selfie. These the ugliest lights I've ever seen. Suppose I
Walmart.
found the northern lights, and it's me going, you know, the old man selfie.
The star on the Walmart symbol or the logo is up there.
You're just sitting around. That's not
This
as
is
pretty
it.
as Bryant Denny.
It's just not the same. It's just not the same. So I guess ultimately there are lines. And
Yes.
you have to have those. You have to have that boundary.
100%.
So-
I think you handled that really well, too. by the
Okay,
way.
thank you. Thank you. My wife said the same thing, so
Oh, there you go.
Well, I
That's
already
what you
got
I
did.
would
approval.
say if you didn't punch him in the nose
Yeah.
when he gave you a bill for $4,000
Yeah.
for something you
Yeah.
didn't ask for, you're one up on a lot of guys.
Absolutely. Yeah,
luckily
hey, I'm sorry, we're going to have to go another direction. It's a lot nicer than the censored version of what could be said.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you didn't punch him, it could have been a very colorful
Absolutely.
response.
How about
Absolutely.
through your own yard?
yeah, seriously. I told the insurance guys that, you know, I didn't know this until this happened, that insurance won't cover unless the, you know, tree is like touching a structure. And so I had a lot more trees down than, luckily, and I'll say that. I mean, I didn't want trees touching the structure until I found that out. And then I said, give me a few days and let me drag a few up here. You know, just lean them up against the porch or something. But you got to do what you got to do. You know, we had a lot of trees on the ground. So if anybody out there needs any firewood, chances are by the time you hear this, y'all still have some if you want it.
You could charge a premium to cut a road.
Oh man, seriously. I mean, I worked for the highway department. I was just in my head. I was thinking like, so if we just take that land over there and we just make a road, and then we just give that bill to the landowner, makes sense, right? Let them pay for it. That's not how the world works.
No.
So, good.
The real question, because I knew what your job was when the guy tried to get you to pay for a road.
Yeah.
Of all the people
Yeah.
that know what process there is to get you to pay for something on
Right.
your property,
Oh man.
you know, you actually know.
Yeah.
So I cannot believe you didn't quote the whole, well, according to section
Yeah.
blank, we're going to go eminent domain on this.
Yeah. 12-A.3b tells me that I don't, buddy. I don't. And yeah, I could have. It's absolutely. It just, the more I thought about it. So he called me. I will say this: the guy called me, the contractor called me, and I was in the middle of Lamar County, and so I was in the one spot that had service in the entire county. And so I pulled over on the side of the road, and he told me, and it caught me off guard. And I thought in my head, did he really just say what I think he said? And I just kind of, even though he couldn't see it, I smiled and kept talking. And then I got off the phone, and the more I thought about it, I was like, man, I don't think I liked what he said. This is not going the way I want it to. Not even close. And so the first thing I did, was I'm driving through there, and my head's turning, like gears are turning, and they were starting to squeak, I guess you could say. So I had to go through it over and over. And then when I had my other conversations, like, this is not going the way I want it to. So, I can see the sky a lot better now. I can pray and actually look up a little better instead of seeing treetops, and a little easier to get a little closer. So we had a lot of conversation during that time, I guess you could say.
Well, I'll say this. Next time the Northern Lights are around, I'm coming to your house.
Yeah, you,
Yeah,
you
you see it
can
all.
see them from there. I can promise you. We got it.
And just hearing all this, Josh, your point of it makes you not want to offer.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking the same thing. Like, just listen, I'm going, I don't know if I'd offer again.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I would say yes, of course I would. But then I'm like, yeah, but would I? Because
yeah.
I kind of beat you down a little bit.
It does, and it also, like my neighborhood, everybody out there has at least a couple acres. Like we're kind of spread out to be a neighborhood, right? But we've got 22 houses in this neighborhood, and one thing that I noticed, and when this all first happened, and we were all getting together to clean up the road, because we had a lot of people show up, which was a great thing. And then I started thinking, man, there's like half the people here that I don't know, and that I don't know I've seen. And some of that is, we've had a couple new houses go up, and or get sold, and new families move in. But one, it's sitting there telling you, man, I gotta get out and talk to my neighbors more. And then on the other hand, it goes back to that because people, especially since 2020, people don't talk anymore. Like you don't. I know the houses that are directly beside me, and then I know the ones directly beside them. But once you get on the other side of the neighborhood, even the folks that go walk in the evenings and things like that, they don't talk. They may wave, but you don't stand there and have conversations like people used to.
Right.
And so you just don't have that relationship like you should. And like, I mean,
You
it's
almost got me singing. Almost got the grandpa.
there you go. I know. Hey, I'm telling you right now, I can't wait to get my spot at Jack's. Okay. That's my goal, is to have my spot right there at that table in Jack's.
Yes.
So that's life.
Dude, my favorite thing to do, though, is nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so busy all the time that when I get a free day or I actually have free time, I'm like, what, of all the possibilities, it would be nice to just sit at home.
Yes.
Man,
It's hard for me. Like, I have to
You ain't lying.
remind myself, and I've already insulted dogs, so I've lost everybody there because people love animals more than humans for some reason now. That's a whole nother podcast. But my thing about, like, I have to, like, be like, I haven't talked to CJ in a long time, or I haven't talked to so-and-so, or I need to text so-and-so and actually hang out. I feel like I have to schedule things like appointments
Oh yeah.
with
Well,
people. It doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I can't do it because I'm like, hey, I want to hang out with my wife, or hang out with both my kids, or just one of my kids,
Yeah.
or my whole family, or like every day of the week. It's impossible to do all those things. It's so hard to balance, and I don't even have friends. So it's like it's not like I'm out here hanging out with 20 people anyway. So yeah, when you say that, I'm like, man, like am I going to be like that as an old man, or I'm already a curmudgeon, and I'll be happy to sit there on my porch doing nothing.
Just like on The Simpsons where he's yelling at the clouds.
Yeah.
you could do both.
You could.
Like,
Yeah.
You
because if we're smart, we get our table at Jack's
Yeah.
and we work that schedule out so we could, like, bring everybody. We can just
Yeah.
do it all at the same time.
Not
So you don't have to, Josh and CJ hang out on this day, and then we'll
Right.
catch up with Clay one day, and then
Yep.
see what Rusty's doing. No, let's just all go to Jack's
See, that was
every couple of weeks.
That
and
was
then the rest of
buddies.
the time we have something available, just do nothing at
that's
home.
it. That was Buddy's, and that was Mr. Bill's, and
Yep.
now both of them are closed. We're down to City Cafe here, and it's
You
like,
can't do that at night.
oh man, it's those two places. You go in. I had somebody tell me one day, like, it's so weird when the waitress knows what your order is. I said, no, it's not. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want to where I don't even have to say a word. I come in there and I can talk to everybody. I don't have to order nothing. They already know what I like.
They just
know
bring
me
you your
by name.
food.
They
I had
know
that at
what's
Taco
ready.
Bell for a while.
See, that's how you do it. That's how you
Just
do
walk
it.
in, they're like, "Here you go, bud."
Oh,
Already
man.
had it ready.
That's awesome.
Does it come with a side of toilet paper?
Oh, it better.
I felt like a king for about 10 minutes, and then it was
Yeah, king on the throne for sure. You know. Speaking of Taco Bell, okay, I had that today. When did Taco Bell become like fine dining as far as prices go?
Oh,
I
yes.
mean,
I could
You
eat
gotta-
at a Mexican restaurant cheaper than Taco Bell.
yes.
You've got to be strategic in how you do your Taco Bell.
I got two things off the value menu and a large drink. Now, given the large drink, they made sure they got their shipping and handling and everything in there. Like, it's expensive, but $9 for two value items, not a value meal. That's just gone.
Well, you had
There
that
is
fancy
no.
Baja Blast. I mean,
Of
that was
course I
probably
did.
tariffs on that one.
There shouldn't be anything else offered at Taco Bell except for Baja Blast. That's the only drink that anybody needs.
I love it, man.
Oh, it's the
I love
best.
the Baja Blast
It's the best. I mean, but when did they get so expensive?
because they keep making up stuff. I mean,
How
you
do
gotta keep
kids
up
make
with
it in college these days? Because that's where, I mean, you could live off of a Taco 12
I tell the
pack.
kids that at school now. I'm like, I don't know how y'all are dating as
know how they do
teenagers
it.
because I can't walk out of the house without spending $50 or $100, and I'm like,
Man,
how-
you
how
can't.
are
Yeah, we can't take the family out for much less than $100.
No.
No,
Tough.
we I think y'all heard me rant on this a lot last year. That one Sunday we went to Wendy's after church and spent $50. I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
never
man.
again. We're going to Mexican restaurants
Yeah.
every time now. Same thing. You get way better food, better quality.
It's a battle of the Daves. I mean, Dave Ramsey tell you to stay away from Dave at Wendy's. You know, like, don't go there. Because it's too much money. Family can't make it.
Golly.
Oh,
That's all my money goes to food. Everything I do. And
look at
I don't-
me.
Yeah.
Look at. I mean,
Look at me too.
I used to hit up Taco Bell so much it got me into the shape, the round one.
It costs
And
a lot of money to
it's
keep
so-
that body there.
it's-
You know, you put a lot of work into it.
It's a lot of planning. And
It's a temple.
Yeah.
It is. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. A lot there.
Strategic planning.
Went for surface area.
Is that going to be like a Southern Baptist? You know how they have the fat Buddhists, like for good luck. Like Southern Baptist Church, they have a little fat redneck guy. Like when you
absolutely.
come in, rub his belly for
Make,
Good luck.
make you feel better. Just rub that belly right there.
a little bowl of gravy
Make you
right in
happy.
front of him. Just
Oh man.
Carrying a casserole.
Oh,
Did you bring mac and cheese?
that's the best. Oh man, some good baked mac and cheese. Oof. Man,
So, Josh, what do you got on your mind this week? Just, I know school's out.
oh yeah,
You're enjoying summer, but it goes too fast.
it does. I try to. I forget that I'm a teacher. I try to ignore it. I try to stay away from it. I'm blessed that I have a job I would think is different than some others. Because when I worked in a factory, you didn't. I mean, you had a Christmas break, but you knew like every day's the same monotonous task over and over. With my job, I have like years. You know, I have like a this group of people come through and then they're gone, and it has like a completion to it. I don't know if you get that with like y'all finish a job or something,
Yeah.
but then you go to the next one
Oh,
right
yeah.
after. See, I get 2 months off
Yeah.
to just be like, oh, it's over. So I go feral in the summertime, and when I show back up in August, I remember a guy that got hired told me, this is several years ago, when he got hired, the principal was walking him through the school and showing him, and walked past my room, and he was like, who's that? And he was like, she said, that's Coach Grammer. You won't see him till August. So she was like, he doesn't come up here. He's gone. Like, and I even the restaurant by the school that I eat at, I like say goodbye to him in May. I'm like, I will see y'all in August.
Yeah. So I know you do things during the summer. You
Yeah.
work. You're active. But do you feel maybe mentally rested at all for having a summer break?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the big difference that I didn't understand, because once again in the factory your body's tired but your mind is sharp because
Right.
you're not really using it.
Sure.
And I could go nerd on you about farming and stuff. Like there's presidents talk about this stuff and all that, but farming is hard work.
Yeah.
But as far as mentally, I know I'm not insulting
Yeah,
people, but
absolutely.
it's not, you're not having to use your brain every 5 seconds talking to 100 people at once. And when I was physically tired, my brain was sharp. But now that I have a job where it's the opposite, you get done at the end of the day, and it's made me worse at listening to people.
Yeah.
Like with even my wife at home, I used to pay attention very well, and then I noticed somewhere in our marriage where she would say something, I wouldn't even hear her.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to be rude. I was just drained. And I'd just be sitting there. She's like, "Did you hear me?" And I'm like, "Huh? What?" But when I hit summer, it's summer dad.
Yeah.
That's what we always joke about. I think a lot of teachers joke about that. You're like a different person. So it is a sacrifice, but it's nothing like what nurses or other people go
Sure.
through, So my job's easy compared to others. And that break we get is not as cool as it sounds because we don't get paid for it. And my dad working at the university, he was a maintenance guy. He actually had more vacation days off than I do.
Sure.
So the way it's divided up, it makes you feel like you're getting more time off, but you're really not, and you're not even getting compensated for it. So there's some trade-offs, but
Yeah.
I've been in this. They say most teachers quit within 5 years, and I think that's why. I think they
Wow.
can't handle that. They can't handle that many people, and everything is your business all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember early on, I'd be in Walmart and I'd hear kids acting up, and I'd feel like this impulse to be, "Hey, stop it!" But now I'm like, I don't care. It's not my problem. Like I'm not the police of the world for everybody's kids. So take care of my own, and then when I'm done, I'm done.
That's right.
So yeah, the summers mostly I've had to work and do other stuff, but it's physical labor.
Mhm.
Like I was telling somebody
yeah.
earlier, I'm working on a house today, all day. The owner left. It's on the lake, so it's just beautiful. I can see the lake. I don't have a boss. Nobody's there but me. I don't even have to talk to anybody, and I'm just sanding sheetrock, which I hate doing, but it was nice.
Yeah.
No kids, nobody screaming, nothing,
Right.
no time, anything. It's just
Oh, in my past, being in construction, we'd have, say a 14-hour day. And yes, you're tired, sure. But it's that physical tired. I've had days where it's been 10 hours where we were putting in a bid or something like that, and you're really mentally exhausted and feel way worse because it took a little longer for you to wind down when you're mentally there versus when you're tired. You can go to sleep pretty easy because it's just, man, you can't move any further. You can't do it. So yes, the mental side of it wear you out quicker than
yeah,
the
I think
physical,
so.
for sure.
I think you need a balance. I don't know how. I'd love to hear everybody's jobs and how they deal with it and how long they've been doing it. But for me, I feel like I have to have a little bit of both because I coach too. So
Yep.
I've noticed when I'm out of season and I leave. We get to leave at 3. I'm more tired then
Yeah.
than when I'm coaching and staying until 5, 6 o'clock. I go home feeling better when I've been outside running and doing
Yeah.
stuff and being physical and all that. I don't know. It's just I have a job where I get to do a little bit of both. I don't like if Ronnie was here. He's on computers all day long. I think, and it's like, man, I don't think I could do that. But then you got somebody like David who's dealing with some of our best citizens. And that's got to be far more exhausting because it's physical and mental.
Yeah.
Man.
And
Yes.
death threats probably.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and you don't get a break. He doesn't
Right.
get that big time off like I do. So I'm sure there's a lot of turnover in that field,
Absolutely.
and that's understandable.
Right. Because nobody. When David has to spring into action, it's not because everybody's doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah.
you
Right.
know? Gosh.
Well, the phrase was nobody calls the police when they're having a good day.
Right.
Right.
Don't call
I'm
them.
gonna try that. Just call 911. What's your emergency? I just wanted y'all to know there's a fire. Now, where's it at? It's in my grill.
Yeah.
Cooking some hamburgers,
Yeah.
and they're so delicious.
It's
I hope
called
y'all
rub
have a
it
great
in.
day. Yeah. If y'all want to send some officers over
If
here,
you want
I've
to send
got
an
extra.
officer over
Yeah.
here, I've got like 4 extras. You start hearing sirens in the background.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
we need backup.
You'd be the
It's a
talk
race to Josh's house.
You'd be a talk of the neighborhood for sure. What did he do?
Probably a
Be-
dispute over a lot line and some
Oh,
trees.
no doubt.
Yeah,
No doubt. Or somebody's
That's
dog.
how you get them to show up, and they'll be okay, fine.
Yeah.
We'll back off.
Yeah. I mean, hear me out. you're in the right, but he gave us a burger. So
Yep.
So here's kind of a funny between the city and country stuff because I make fun of my buddy for living in the city all the time because he's a redneck. And we were at his house one time hanging out. We heard sirens everywhere, every street. I don't understand streets, avenues, all that stuff. Doesn't one way go the other way or whatever.
well, let me tell you, but no, I'm
Okay,
kidding.
they're everywhere. And we stepped outside. It's about midnight, and it's dark, of course. And the car that was running from the cops had wrecked, and I see a dark figure hopping a fence into my friend's backyard, running through the backyard, right where I'm at. Yeah, and I like waved at cops like he's in that ditch, but he actually got away. He got away.
Oh.
But what's crazy is I was like, man,
I blame
just-
you.
Yeah.
If you'd have form tackled him, what would have happened?
Well, we had a pistol, but I was like, I think we would get in more trouble than it's worth to help here. So I don't.
You drew a line.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think it's worth that. But anyway, after that, I've got a crazy meth head that has lived out in my woods forever, literally living in the woods. And there was a moment a couple years ago where me and my kids were outside, and a sheriff comes barreling down my driveway, flying, and it's bumpy, it's gravel, and the passenger guy jumps out, runs through the woods, and my local meth head has been running from them through the woods and is hiding on my property. And this happened more than once. And when I was telling my buddy about this, I didn't even catch what I was saying until afterwards. I was like, well, I guess it's both of us, like I was trying to be all high and mighty, like, well, I live out in the country. We don't deal with that stuff. And I got crazy meth head everywhere. Most of them take care of themselves
Yeah.
eventually. But they keep popping up, man. One goes away and then there's a new dealer, I guess. But it's like no matter where you go, there's something crazy going on.
Yeah.
And that's what terrifies me about ever moving because I'm like,
Because you know the crazy you have there.
yeah, I'm like,
you-
I know him. He's fine. That's
I know
Jimmy.
what I
He's
have
cool.
here. Yeah.
Like, Jimmy ain't going to bother me. He's just hiding in my pine straw,
Okay, serious question. Is there a greater entertainment than the yearly, or I guess seasonally episode of Cops that's the Taser episode? Is there anything better than that? I mean, that is just prime.
Man.
Man, that you talking about putting
Taser,
people
taser.
on their tracks. You get that Taser out, this is great. It's just fun to watch. Hopefully it's never me. I don't ever want that to happen. I give up.
Now, are you talking about training or actually?
No.
tasing
They would
people?
always have the show Cops.
Yeah, you're talking about that, or they're.
They always had an
getting
episode
people, yeah.
each season that was like the Taser episode. And it was just clips of them hitting people with tasers. Like mid-stride, jumping a fence, hit a guy it was in a couch. They come into a house one time. He's sitting on the couch. They told him to get up. He wouldn't do it. He got up after they picked him up, after they had hit him with the taser. It was great.
Y'all could have a episode of this where y'all do that. I probably won't.
We
be
are
here.
not
I probably won't
tasering
be
each
here,
other.
but I'm saying David could probably come in.
Oh,
and-
man.
Yeah.
Hit
I'll,
CJ right
I'll
here.
miss that one. I'll be missing that episode.
You'll be out for that one?
Get the slow mo on those cameras for that.
After the discussion before we turn the microphones on, there might be bad things that happened if they hit me with one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I just... Have you? I mean, you had to go through that, right, Rusty? You had to be...
I've been tasered.
To get certified, you have to do it, right?
I have been.
Wow.
It wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
It's better than a bullet hole.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Not a lot to argue there.
Yeah, wouldn't argue that point for sure.
We used to make the argument, why do we have to get tasered if we don't have to get shot? Because they
Ooh.
say you have to get tasered to be certified to carry it so you know what it will do to people. And I'm like, well, we don't beanbag gun each other. And we don't shoot each other. So how did we apply that to the taser? And nobody will answer that question. But, pepper spray and taser you do have to do to carry.
We all know the answer to that question because they know that the other stuff is just going to hurt you. They get a pretty good show when they get to taser you. They knew what they were doing. They're smart.
Be a little scared to push the. Why don't you shoot us? That's a good thought.
Yeah.
Line up.
Yeah, that one guy that's like,
Oh
you know
no,
what?
that
Yes, we will.
backfired.
I would say it's hard enough to hire police officers that they didn't want to shoot any extras. They were not
Sure.
going to have to find extras.
Sure.
Tasering them, that's fine.
Here's your new vest. We're going to try it out.
Well, we've covered a lot.
We have.
I had a topic we didn't even get to.
Oh, let's start.
Oh,
Brand new night.
Let's do
Take
it.
off.
all right.
Got 5 or 10 good minutes.
All right. sort of, so it's hoping to get a little bit of both worlds into this. Of I would like to kind of take a spiritual angle, a biblical angle, but also probably see where it gets funny in some of this. So,
Sure.
So my thought and my question is since you have become fathers, what is an attribute of God that you didn't really have a grasp of until you became a father? So while you're thinking about it, I'll throw mine out there. Mine was God's wrath, and that probably sounds a little crazy when you go, man, this is amazing.
No, it sounds awesome.
You're like your children.
Get it
it's
now,
Lord.
Lord.
It's so wonderful.
I will flood this house.
People are thinking about, how precious children are and all this sort of stuff.
Pillars of salt.
And so, but
Little girl
one
with
of the-
umbrellas.
yeah, one of the
That's
things that
awesome.
really it did shock me when my first child was born, and
That was
I
lightning.
was when I was holding him for the first time, just looking at him, completely amazed. And in that moment, I said to myself, "I understand God's wrath, because if anybody looked at him the wrong way or they said something, I just realized I am capable of wrath that I never was before." And that was really strange in like the first moments as a father to realize I love this child. I never knew I could love a child as much as I love this child, and I will take someone's life if they
Yeah.
just so much as look mean mug him.
Yeah. You had
And-
the Heisman going on with the baby.
Yeah, I like to think I'm a pretty calm, easygoing, peaceful guy, but in that moment I realized that I could rip somebody's throat out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had never really felt that before. And nobody did anything. Nobody looked at him funny.
Yeah.
I was like, I will take everyone out in this room.
You thought about life and death.
Yes.
You wanted to trade
And-
death.
And so oddly enough, it kind of, when I kind of got that understanding and feeling of God's wrath, and that I get it now. I get why people would be afraid of God's wrath. It also in turn made me understand his love, because without the intense love that I had for my child in that moment, I could not understand wrath.
Sure.
Because it was love that brought that out. So wrath doesn't just happen for any reason.
Yeah.
It comes from a place of love, and because of what you would do for something you love so much. And I think God's is put on display. We don't have to face his wrath. And I just, that, in that moment as a brand new dad for the first time, that I remember being a little appalled at myself, going, wrath, I get it. I will kill anyone
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
right now. I wouldn't think twice. Now, granted, I think God's a lot more controlled than that.
Sure.
But I really, in that moment, that was an attribute of God's that I never had considered in that light before. So I was just, I was just wondering because I think about that often, actually.
Yeah.
And I just was wondering what is an attribute of God that y'all have either figured out since you became a dad or has just expanded much more.
No, you go first.
Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
go
talk.
first.
You just ignore me and think,
Yeah,
because I was trying to
you go.
listen a little bit. But
Sure.
let me think.
That's a tough one.
I got two, and I'll do one really quick.
Okay.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. That one, my dad did it well. I think I talked about this other one I was on, where I was and am still afraid of my dad in the right way.
Right.
I think it's like that healthy balance of I love him, but I respect him. And having that example from my dad, I wanted to make sure I had that with my kids, to where there's that little element of fear that needs to be there. It's a healthy fear. It's a healthy respect of the Lord. And if I'm representing Christ to my family, they should respect that authority as well. But
Right.
I shouldn't do it in a way that's abusive, right? So that one was, I remember the very first time, like, my oldest son got a real whooping was I asked him to do something, and he was young. I'm talking like 2 or 3 years old. He looked at me and said, no. And I just immediately brought
Wrath.
it down. And that's all it took. That's all it took. And that fixed it, And I think I've let the leash off a little too much here recently. But that's something that's always in the back of my mind is don't overdo it, but make sure that that element is there because it produces wisdom. I think
Right.
it produces a better man that will make wiser choices. The other thing that I had saw grown people come to Christ and saw the Holy Spirit working through somebody, but I never quite saw it on such a regular basis as with my oldest son right now, who's about to be 9, but just watching that development of, yeah, I can train my son and I can raise him in the ways of the Lord and all that, but there's the Holy Spirit has to be a part of it. And to see that moment where he started asking the questions and he started himself praying, and it wasn't things I was coaching him to say. I would hear him pray and ask for things and say things where I was like, all right, a 6-year-old does not say this. Like they don't naturally say this. They don't pray for this. This wouldn't even be on their mind. And as he went into 7-year-old and 8 years old, and you could obviously see the Holy Spirit working through him. That's those things you could never explain to somebody in an argument. You couldn't use science. You couldn't use the greatest minds on earth to explain it other than watching it develop over years and going, okay, that's not human. That's different. That's not us brainwashing him. That's him and God talking. And that's been cool to see. My younger one, just before we came up here, we were down there, and he said something about wanting to be baptized, but he doesn't understand yet. I'm like, dude, no, you're 5. You don't get it. But it's cool to see that develop. And no matter what my kids do, if they fall away, the hope is that they come back. Because those teenage years are awful. But the idea is maybe I can navigate it, but if I do make mistakes, because we will make mistakes, I want my sons to have the Holy Spirit. I want them to be saved, and I want them to, when they do make the mistakes, have that conviction and come back to it. And that's something that I think that's been the biggest thing for me that I've seen, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like to watch that happen.
It's awesome.
I would say one attribute of God, just hit myself in the head, is the patience that he has and the patience that I fall short of many times. And that's just because I'm kind of I don't go to 11, but if it's 1 through 10, I can get to 8 pretty quick if it's needed. That's why I'm like, Lord had you for that neighbor, not me. I'd have been at 11 on that neighbor. I'd actually called him back as soon as I had phone service.
Yeah.
And said, I think I know what you said. You want to try to say it again, and then we'll talk.
Yeah.
You want to think about what you said? You know, that's kind of
Sure.
just the me in it. And I could have been polite, fully ugly as I could be.
Yeah.
But that's not patient. And that doesn't allow the growth that our kids need.
Yeah.
You know, my dad was way more patient than I've ever learned how to be. And that's just his personality.
Well, I will say that it and this kind of ties, it does tie into exactly what this question is once you become a dad, because I'm going to tell you, before I was a dad, I would have called. And I know also that goes with even just maturity of growing older and things, but it really amplifies when you have kids, because before then, I would have absolutely called him back, or I would have just said it right then, exactly what I was thinking. And that's actually what I was going to bring up, and it may be the easy answer, right? Because you have to look at your kids and know that they're going to make mistakes and have that forgiveness. But, man, in the past, my youth and well into my 20s and even into 30s was I didn't have that forgiveness. I didn't for anybody. If you crossed me or I felt like you had done anything like that, I guess I held a grudge, because I would just look at you and say, well, I don't need to be around you. And I'd just go on to the next one. That happened in relationships. That happened in, and I'm talking about like between friends and coworkers and things like that. If I felt like you weren't 100% heading in the same direction I was, then I just moved on and found other people. And it could have been on the smallest things. And so once we had our boys and started seeing some of that where you can't do that. You've got to show that forgiveness to them, no matter what they do, big or small, and even the things they do to each other, and that are just small things. But at the same time, I'm telling you, I would have absolutely turned the other way and just went and done something different. And it makes you think about what, God has to actually, the patience that He has to show and the forgiveness that He's giving you, because man, I look at some things I did and I'm like, I don't know how you can forgive that. I mean, there were some dark times and some things that I shouldn't have done and had going in different directions. And now I'm looking at it on a very lot smaller scale, and I'm like, yeah, I see that now. You know, you hear it. When you see it and practice it, that's when it's like, it makes sense now. And it clicks. So yes, that would have been me 100% is jumping right on there and, all right, buddy, you better roll your sleeves up because we're going to have a little fun today. And now since becoming a dad, it's more of, all right, well, they messed up. They said this. They probably didn't mean it, whatever. Be strong, but move on. You know, like just figure out a way to deal with it. Don't let that weakness come up again, and just keep going. And that's the thing that I learned the most from having our boys is like, hey, you just gotta stop completely turning 180 and shutting things off. You've got to, and that happens.
It forces you to walk the walk.
Yes, it does.
You can't just talk a talk anymore.
That's right.
If you want to set an example, you've got to do it.
You have to.
And
what's the saying? It's like wives make you good or something. Kids make you holy. What is
yeah.
I forgot what it said about wives, but I know the kid part is kids make you holy,
Sure.
which
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
means you can't hide it. Like
Yeah.
they're
Right.
going to see it.
They're going
Right.
to see it.
Yeah.
And they pay attention when you don't think they are. Well, they pick up on it. So it forces you there. You get some good stuff out of it, though.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Mine picked up my gaming habits of yelling and stuff, or sports, and I'm like, my wife gets mad at it. I'm like, hey, we're sorry, we're passionate.
that's part of it.
I don't like losing.
No,
My kids are sore losers too, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I taught them that,
Yeah.
but I am. I hate
Yeah.
losing, man. I don't care what it is.
then you got to
Oh,
bite your tongue and fake it and lose gracefully.
Well, it's bad when me and if I beat them at something, they get mad. But I'm also like, but I'm not gonna let you win.
no,
Right, right.
no.
I'm gonna get beat by an 8-year-old. Come on, man. And that it's funny. My dad would do that. I remember I would try to race him all the time, and he would beat me every time.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back on that now, I'm like, I'm glad he did that because it made me get faster. Because I was so determined to beat him, and even though I could, if I'd have beat him every time, I wouldn't have tried hard. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, my dad told me many times, get better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was just part of, and I've told my boys that, like, you know, and mine are still at that age, and they will be for a while. Of why'd you do that? Don't ask me why. You need to ask you. Get better.
You will feel the wrath.
That's right.
That's right.
I love that answer. That was great. The wrath.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very unexpected.
Yes.
But, anyway. Well, guys, thank y'all. Next time, we'll have a different set of dads, and look forward to chatting with them and getting everybody in. So thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great night.